Alright, some of you who've seen what I've been doing may have seen me stuffing around with the electric opening for the rear windows. So the way they were doing it wasn't great, and it wasn't going to do the job well enough to stop them rattling at speed or anything like that. So I come up with this sort of setup. So the idea would be, as it rotates around to closed, it picks up hard against here and gains leverage to pull the window shut properly against the seal and hold it. If you look, it's very similar to how like a standard one would work if you manually locked it. So where it gets past a point where all three are in line and then locks beyond that. Yeah, the thing is, I sort of have to do it differently because, you know, I can't fucking do anything normal. So I want it to be electric as well as manual on the back. But at the moment what I'm thinking is I might just make it full electric and have two little buttons on the back windowsill for whoever's in the rear to open and shut the window as they please. I don't know, I'm going to try this. I've used some bits to sort of make a friction assembly. This is just in that MDF, 3mm MDF, just so I can test everything and then make it out of aluminium once I get all the geometry right. I don't know, it's just sort of a bit of piss farting around. See what I get as far as... But if it doesn't lock into place manually well and work properly without, you know, ripping the mount off the window, then I think I'm just going to have to do it full electric, which sucks because I was really hoping to keep the rear, like if you're sitting in the rear, be able to operate it manually. Anyway, this is going to be a journey through the brain of Mick. I apologise in advance. Alright, this is going to be a bit impossible to film, but that's the unit sort of just sitting there. So if I pull this back up here, which is not where it'll mount, but it's where the pivot is, you can see that this here is going to pull. You can just see it pull against that seal, pull the window shut against that seal. A couple of things. First of all, this distance, this pivot here is too far that way, because at the moment, if I'll use the friction drive bit and crank it open for you. Look at that, I can do it one-handed. But when it's well open, that there is huge, an absolutely huge gap. It's like enough to pass a large cup from Macca's through, so it's a bit much. You just watch this pull back around here. Now this is where the problem comes. If I pull that and push so that it's back against the seal and sealed like I'd be happy, as soon as I let go of that, it springs back, and that is going to be a problem. I think there's no way around this other than to use the motors only to open and shut it. These are worm drives, so when it closes, it'll lock, it won't come undone. And I can close it with pressure against it. I'm really happy with like the geometry of this and how it sits. It's about perfect. Now I can also, when I make this, if I make a little screw that just sits on top of here and can be adjusted to pull, so when it's all done and closed, I can pull tension on it and actually adjust that stop so that it pulls out. You can see all of the components I've made, like this little piece here to attach it. These holes are slightly oversized to allow for adjustment. Everything I do when I build it sort of gives me some space for adjustment, because, well, nothing's the same for a start, but also like you just need it. When you fit stuff, you just need to be able to have that ability to adjust it and service it going down the track. You look at a lot of new cars, windows are a great example. They bolt in and forget, there's not a lot of adjustment on them. When it's an old one, you can sort of adjust for the wearing of the track as it goes on. New ones, it's replace unit, go again. And they do the same with everything in them. So yeah, this piece is good. It just gives me a point for pivot. I think what I'll do is actually fabricate. I'll use like I'll get some stainless socket heads and actually fabricate a nice shaft here and make it this motor needs to sit around the other way and up higher. It needs to sit about here and pointed that way, because over here, that's the plug it connects to that I wired in ages ago when I did the first iteration of these windows. The funny thing is, the original, very, very original thing I was trying to build is very, very close to what I've got right here. So it looks like I'm ditching the friction drive. I'll put an open and close button somewhere, and I'll figure it out. It's easy enough to. And then I think I'll put a limiting switch in the back here, so close can only work while ever that limiting switch isn't being hit. Oh fuck, I don't know. Then I have to do one of them for open as well. I'll figure it out, no doubt. Pain in the ass, but it's not too bad, but maybe I should just keep going with this for a bit, get it to the point where it works and see what happens. You can see there, like, as soon as I let go of that, it wants to untwist again, and it's just not going to hold. I mean, it's not going to pull out. It's not, you know, I couldn't force that out. Oh, it'd take some effort, but I could do it, I suppose. The other option is, like old matey from Home Built by Jeff, the guy who's building that Alpha 105 with the Ferrari in it, Ferrari engine. He used some units out of the arse end of a Dodge Caravan or whatever it is from the States, and $100 a unit, and they're just a open close unit. But I've already got this stuff, and I've already put a lot of time into making them work, and they're very low profile, whereas the units out of the Dodge are very big, they're chunky. He's having trouble hiding them in his car, and I don't want to have that drama. No. On we go. Okay, as per 1,000 years later, I've had a little rethink of my geometry, and what I need is for those 3 points. So the point where it mounts to the window, the pivot for the motor, and the third point on the arm to be pretty close to in a line, or just slightly over 180, like that. But I need these 2 points here to be able to pull on the window to give me the ability to lock. So the problem I've got is, for that to happen, this point here has to move way out here, be like into the cab, towards the cab of the, or the shoulder rather, of the poor bastard sitting in this back seat. So I don't know. Oh great, just lost me light. Fuck. Okay, got some light back. So if I move this pivot here outwards towards the seat and around closer to the window, you get that effect. And you can see I can pull on that, and it just pulls the window in. It doesn't unlock. It stays, like, you know, it can apply force to it. So then so the friction bit works, pop, right, and push, and window is well open. And the motor will be able to bring it back around and just go clink and lock it there. You can see it's not moving. It's not. I can't push that, and that's what I'm after. I cannot push that window open. But it is not ideal. It just means that everything's a compromise in the end, but it just means that this point here is, I can't sort of make it tuck in any further, which was really sort of an aim of the game. But I suppose if you look at the depth of like a standard door jamb, hope you can see that from the, think about how far that is from the window. I'm way outside. If you actually look down here, that's the standard seat there, which would normally be pretty close to being, you know, close to the door trim. The door trim would be close to it, and you can see I've got a lot of space. I've got to make a filler piece with some foam for that. And have a look there. There's the back. You think about a wagon body, how much closer that is to the edge of the wagon body. That's the back of it. That's a standard EH wagon rear seat. So I don't know. I think I'll just see if we can get some focus back. Come on, you piece of shit. There we go. So I think it's going to be okay. I'm just might be just cutting, but what I will do is move this point even closer in here, so that I've got, I mean, it means the window won't open much at all, but all it's really got to do is allow airflow. So if you crack the front quarters and crack these back ones, you can get a cool bit of airflow. It's a bit nice to have them humming down the highway. Alright, put it all together and build it all out of aluminium now. Sweet. Alright people, check this out. So, I've kind of got the geometry sorted. I just made a couple of little stays just to hold this. This down here I'm going to actually remake into something nice that'll have a rubber, some sort of rubber in it like that does. Like I'll just use a grommet or something. Oops, sorry, excuse me finger. So I'll just use a grommet or something just so there's no rattles, but it also gives a bit of give, so when it locks it sort of clicks into place. So I'm going to have to remake all of this, but the key is, because I've got to, you know, the shaft's got to be longer so that I can get the drive up here for the motor and everything. But if I can flick this with my hands and have it go click like that, then an electric motor can do it. And that means I can't actually push this window open anymore. She is locked, and that is hard against the seal that I've made, so I'll have to remake this bottom one because it's not quite aligned properly. I may even actually use some of the same stuff and stick it to the glass so that they can pinch up together and just mate up and give a good seal. I really don't want a shitload of wind noise or anything coming in through this thing. But I think I'll actually shorten this and just make the thing open like a whole lot less, because at the end of the day, that there is actually quite large for one of these windows. I could probably happily have it at half of that, just crack enough to let the pressure from the cabin out. That's sort of like, there's a whole friggin' hand I can get in there, you know. And like I said, we're not going to be passing Macca's cups out of this bit. This is just really, I mean, really, I could have sealed this shut and not had the friggin' windows open at all, but instead I'm going to spend days and days and days chasing a function, because that's what I do. I can reshape this and use smaller bolts and pivots so I can get the whole thing a lot smaller, which I think I'll do, just so it doesn't come into the cab so much. At the moment it pokes out a little bit into the cab, and I'll extend these pieces here to make it nice, and so it's sort of like a handle, so you can lock it, push it open, and that'll just stop where it wants to. Now this open will only be held by the friction of this drive. So if you look at this here, if I open it with the driver, and that stops, that's where it'll stay. And then motor again to close, click, and then, because that's the push lock, that's the function I was chasing in this whole bloody exercise. So, what to do next? Next I need to get some stainless bolts and stuff. I'll go see my local supplier and just see what I can get that's gonna do the job, and just give me the result I need as far as friction goes on this thing. And then, because I want, you know, everything from here to here to look nice. You know, I want it to look nice, like it's a nice fabricated piece. Just the amount of time I've spent on this action sort of should give you a bit of an appreciation for the amount of R&D that goes into any given vehicle. If you think about sorting out the geometry for the opening and closing of a window based on a design that they've got, and how much time they spend doing that just to get it right, would be incredible. But anyway, I'm happy with that. Make it nice, make another one for the other side. Done. Sweet. Okay, hours and hours and hours of R&D have led me to this. Push open, pull closed, it locks. You can't push the window open without it, and let's see if it works now that I've got the camera on it. Oh, wrong way. Open. Closed. And that is mint. Now I have to pull this all apart, duplicate it for the other side, and clean everything up, paint it and make it nice. But I am pretty bloody happy with this. It's all got little M5 button heads holding it all together. These are stainless bits, so that'll all look nice. This you won't see. I'm going to put a cover here above it to hide all of this. I'm going to narrow this down a bit and, you know, make it a bit, take up less space, just sort of make the whole thing more low-key. Everything's adjustable, so I can, if I'm not happy with how it opens and closes, I can fix it. But mate, I'm pretty stoked with that. It's pretty good. Everything's got rubber bits in it. You know, there's all sorts of cushioning throughout the whole thing, but just so it won't make a racket. But really, you sort of can't ask for a whole lot better than that, I think. The main bit is that it does its function correctly, which is hold the windows so they won't rattle when the cabin is full of air pressure. Sweet. Peace out. Had a little rethink on this particular part before I build the other side. I think I'm just going to redo this side. Just a couple of things I want to change. How it sits and what it does. I think I want to make it a little more low profile through this section in the centre here because it's a bit bulky. Round it out, make it a bit smoother, weld it a bit better. Just get it right the first time rather than having to tune it up back and forth. Drill and tap it, so I'll wind up with threads in these bottom holes here, so that M5 can just go through, and I'll just nick it off at the right length, and that's your pin there, just so there's no, no bolts or anything, no bits hanging through. Very happy with how the shaft works. So I'm going to keep that. This here might need a little bit of a tune-up depending on what I do with this to make it nice. I think it works pretty well. This bit here needs some work. It just, as this rotates in, this piece here sort of butts up against it, just touches it, and I want the whole thing moved forward a bit, so I need to remake this anyway. But I might just bring it out just a smidge and forward and make sure there's nothing in front of this part here, so that I've got all the space in the world to swing this as it opens and as it does its action, so it's smooth and not, That's down the bottom here. That's the M5 that's tapped up the bottom of an M6 bolt. Other thing I've got is uni joints. So now the uni joint can bolt onto the top section here, and I can have the motor up and away and in a bit, so it's not so hanging out so far and bulky, which is fantastic. Pretty stoked with that. So I'll get that all done. But it means I've got to make another top mount pivot. So I'll probably just make another one similar to that, this bottom one. Just runs that's got just a rubber grommet in it, just to give it a slide and give it a little bit of give. So I'll do the same up here, do a slide and a bit of give. These two bolts, the nuts need to be done up against each other hard. See just under it, that's a spring washer there. That provides downward pressure on this so that it creates friction all the time. So the motor can drive it through the friction like that, and it'll actually have enough nads to drive it. Or if you're just opening and closing it manually, it works like a friction drive. That lets me do both things. And so the idea will be above this is a cover, so you just see this nice Steno shaft and a little bracket, and everything, just all the brackets will be smoothed and painted up nice. We'll see how we go. I'll just start stuffing around and see where it gets me to. I think it'll work good. I sort of would like this piece to sort of resemble an old school cast piece, like back in the day when automotive manufacturers had their own foundries and they would cast all the parts that they need, and they do not do that anymore. Anyway, keep going. Alright, so here we go. This, I think, is pretty much it. A little bit of cleaning up to do. I remade this so it's a bit lower profile. I'm going to do a video that'll show all of the deconstruction and painting of these bits to make another one, so you can see how it goes together and how I designed it. I now have this rad little thing, which means that this motor, which is currently held in with a cable tie and will be held in with something more substantial, honest, sort of sits back against that now. So if you look from here, you can imagine if this was straight up, the motor would be sort of out here and hanging out chunky, but now she's tucked back against the wall just real nice. So manually, very happy, works good, can't push it open. And oh. So that's pretty sweet. Maybe need to tighten up that friction drive just a little. Not sure, but maybe it is that it does the job. People in the back can open and shut it, people in the front can open and shut it. And once all of the covering is on, which it won't have to be so big now because I don't have a massive motor sitting right here, it's going to look awesome. It's all painted up and smoothed out. I think I'll just weld a little piece on the end here just to give me sort of a bit, a bit of a round tail on it, just so when it's in here, you've got a bit of something to grab it by. It's pretty close there. Anyhow, next bit, blow it all apart, make another one, clean everything up, paint, reassemble, leave forever. Righto, finished, painted, nice bright fasteners holding everything in, works mint, and the little uni joint. I lost one of the grub screws, so I had to use an M4 that I had, but it doesn't matter, all that's hidden anyway, which is kind of a bit of a shame because the uni is nice, it looks cool, and it might be cool to expose that, but oh well, fuck it. You can see this now, I'm not held in with a cable tie anymore. Put a slot in here and just put a hose clamp. That just sort of lets it move a little bit, flex a little bit, just in case there's misalignment. Just painted it black so it sort of disappears. All this here will have I've got to make a one-piece trim panel that goes from here, follows this arc, and I actually want these exposed because I want to paint them. And I'll put like roof, I'll glue carpet to the roof to this joint, to this, I'll glue carpet to the roof to this edge here, and then I'll paint this cool thing, I think, which is going to be a pain, but I'm going to do it. So what I'm going to do is make the trim piece go to here, come down, come across there, go up and continue, but I want it to be above these mad vents, these mad roof vents that create rust. So it's going to, actually, if I want to sit on that plane, I'm going to have to leave them around the vents, which is okay, I'll make it happen. But then it's going to follow, sit along this line here, go right the way down, past all of that, down to here, and then up and over the top of that. So it's just going to sit flat, cover all of that. Should be cool. Hopefully cool. Definitely cool. Peace.